we enjoy collaboration. When sustainability is a key impact and a key figure for a hospital or a health centre, it's something which we get quite excited about because it allows us to be...
Jake Robinson is the driving force behind ADNHC's housekeeping solutions, serving nearly 30% of the UAE's hospitals, including Mediclinic, Fakir, and Clemenceau. He spent over a decade mastering large-scale cleaning operations. Studies indicate that effective hygiene can boost patient satisfaction by over 20%, and Jake's at the helm to make it happen. Safe, efficient, and future-focused.
It's about going on that journey and allowing us to invest that time and be able to demonstrate what we can do with the technology, with the innovation. And we've got to see it from other aspects rather than it just being financial, but it's the end outcome. Is everything cleaner? Have we reduced the possibility of human error? Is it more sustainable?
So, welcome, Jake.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
A slightly different guest today, I would say. I think a lot of people in the market are not necessarily aware of ADNH Catering, what it exactly does. It is a name that is known, I guess, previously Compass Group and all that. Maybe you can explain a little bit about the type of businesses that ADNH is in and working with here in the UAE and beyond.
Certainly. So, of course, ADNH was in a joint venture with Compass Group Global PLC, which was changed to ADNH only from July, which means that we're fully UAE owned. We underwent a IPO process in October of last year, which allowed us to float a good amount of shares and to see where we are in the market. From there, though, we've actually looked at it from the ADNH Catering name is that we wanted to rebrand the support services sector, which includes our housekeeping, our hospitality, our pest services, our laundry, our manpower business as well, was able to be identifies its own brand, which is, I'm pleased to announce, was named about a month ago as Task Plus. So everything which is involving around everything that is non-catering is now under the title of Task Plus, an ADNH Catering company.
Okay. And in ADNH, you have a big emphasis on the healthcare industry here, sector here. You have quite a number of reputable clients in that way. How do you see that your portfolio is different in healthcare from, say, your normal housekeeping work that is happening in hospitality, for example?
You're completely correct. ADNH Catering Task Plus, we fulfill catering, laundry, pest control, and mainly housekeeping across the healthcare sector. And the key differential that we see with it is that it's the focus upon it. It's a completely different type of housekeeping, cleaning, hygiene focus, which a lot of people don't fully understand or recognize because the factors are so much more, the consequences are so much higher if you do not get it right. And it's not considered that you have to consider the consumption and the biochemistry of the chemicals which you're using in a healthcare sector. People don't understand fully how diverse it can be in terms of the departments which you can do. So there is a greater focus upon it. It's clearer that we have to have that validation in terms of the information and what we do. And it's just about that commitment, that true commitment that we want to be one of the best in class. I say one of the best because every company which is involved in it wants to be best in class, but as long as we're all driving to that, it gives us motivation for us all to improve, which is the key factor about what we're providing here.
Yeah, and I guess that there's a natural tension also because I would imagine that in healthcare there are different outcomes that you obviously require. I mean, obviously a hospital is a very risk adverse environment. You should focus on hospital-acquired infections as the ultimate thing to avoid. How do you, as the housekeeping arm inside hospitals, deal with that? What is sort of like the biggest pressure points that you work with?
The biggest pressure point for us is that we have a direct influence on the patient outcome.
Yeah.
And it's something which doesn't necessarily get seen, or, as I said, the consequences of it in different environments and different facilities, we have a direct input on the patient outcome that they can enter the hospital in or the healthcare center in any way, but we are contributing to them leaving in a healthy and better place than when they actually arrived.
Yeah.
And it's something we take extremely seriously. The whole of the team is focused on ensuring that ultimately the patient, the end user, is the one that leaves in a better place than when they arrived. So it's unlike any other facility, any other place which you go is where you have almost, you can look at it, you're almost in a life and death scenario when you're talking about healthcare housekeeping.
Yeah.
It's not that scenario in any other place, of course, unless we go back to a pandemic where we can talk about how things were elevated in every single sector.
Yeah.
Though it's something which we take a lot of learnings. It's a constant progress and a constant development.
Yeah.
We always need to look to increase our probability of everybody leaving perfectly, increase our probability of our infection control processes. It's constantly got to improve. At no point will it ever be perfect. You cannot rest on your laurels. It's a constant evolution of what healthcare housekeeping looks like.
Yeah. And do you think that the pandemic, COVID-19, actually had a lasting impact on how people look at it in healthcare? Or
Completely. If we look back at the pandemic, it's something where people actually started to focus on cleaning and housekeeping isn't just about the aesthetics. And COVID was not something you could see on the surface. Otherwise, we'd all be avoiding it and waving our hands, understanding it, seeing it, red beacon, stay away from it. It's something which, without understanding what is beyond the aesthetics, you wouldn't be able to clean it. If we look at COVID, you look at the practices in the scheduling, there were key touch points which people would always think about. You'd be thinking about the doorknob or the handrail.
Yeah.
But what's the scheduling to actually clean that? The scheduling increased, and I don't feel that the scheduling now has decreased in any way. We're also talking about those touch points in different areas. So it wasn't just about the door handle. It might just be about the door frame, the actual door itself. It could be on just the corner of a surface of a table where you don't realize how many people lean on a table, like the coffee table here, your hand could be on it. Those are places which have scope to develop something which could be dangerous to anybody in that facility.
Yeah.
So the touch points and the focus around the touch points increased. We increased from focusing on those real red areas to bringing in the amber and even those green areas where just one touch or one spread of it can have really damaging impact.
And did hospital clients look at you as the provider of the housekeeping services to relook at some of these cleaning protocols and increasing the times that you basically clean certain things and innovate, or did they basically put it on you with prescribed processes that you needed to implement?
I was in the UK at the time when this was happening, and it was something which they looked for us to actually be able to utilize the science and understanding of what's actually happening to be able to find the solution to do it. The key part for us was that they also wanted the assurance around it. So it wasn't just a matter of the checklists and noticing it's been there. And it's a conversation which we've had before, is that the ATP testing was something which they needed to feel confident that services were doing. So what we'd have places where we were cleaning and they'd have an individual auditor swabbing in random places around, almost following us around. So it was really important that we were on top of that as part of our auditing as well.
Yeah.
And validating and be able to provide that information back gave our clients confidence that the service was being delivered, that their actual facility was safe, and it also can be passed on to their clients because their HAIs are really, really important to them. And at that time, it was probably the most unsuccessful period for HAIs with COVID and the spread of it. It was something which we looked at, we tried to support with, and it's a consistent coming out of it is that what learnings do we have from there which allow us to improve our service and also restrict any possibility of any such outcome or any such pandemic again, especially the spread of it in a healthcare facility.
Yeah, because I guess that no matter where you are in the world, there is a constant risk for outbreaks inside hospitals, and in that way. So when you came to the UAE, did you see a sort of different practice in that resulting from COVID compared to the UK, or is it more or less the same?
It is different. It is different. And it's different everywhere you go. I looked at it from the US as well. I spent some time in the US looking at their practices as well. We need to focus on the validation of information a little bit more.
Yeah.
I always believe that. And it's something which we are committed to as an organisation, as Task Plus, the brand as ADNH Catering. It's something which is exceptionally important to us, is that we want to be able to demonstrate the value of what we do. We also want to be able to provide confidence for our clients, who then can pass it on to their end users as well. It's something which I see developing over the next 12 to 18 months, the importance of it, especially as more data becomes available.
Yeah.
Data creates an appetite for further improvement. And that further improvement can only enhance the credentials of ourselves, the service that we provide, those cleaners which we have on the floor undertaking the work in the hospitals themselves. We also see a little bit less in terms of the UVC, the ultraviolet light. Yeah. It's something which we saw grow significantly elsewhere in the world, the UVC.
Yeah.
The idea of it, where it actually isn't just cleaning the surface, but also supports the airflow around there as well, and cleansing the airflow, it's exceptionally important. And if you can integrate that with the AI technology, which wasn't as developed back in 4 or 5 years ago, if you can integrate the AI technology with the UVC and with other levels of automation, you're in a really strong position to be able to provide a stronger service, be able to provide efficiencies, and be able to reduce any possibilities of risk. It's never going to be perfect, but it's about those 1-2% gains in terms of protecting your clientele, which make the difference.
And do you see that obviously a lot of hospitals here comply with the JCI, a global US standard, but globally used, the DHA and Department of Health, all of it has their own sort of requirements. Do you see that verification is becoming more and more important also in putting a fundament into what you do as an organization, healthcare system, I would say, and your role in it as well? And what kind of KPIs do you track then from a housekeeping perspective?
So from our side, we have some tremendous clients, and there's some tremendous authorities who have such an amazing focus to protect everybody that's within their facilities and utilizing their facilities. Yeah. And we find that we get scrutinized exceptionally heavily as part of any JCIs, especially with the change over the last 6 months, which is just reviewing how they assess it in terms of compliant, non-compliant, and there is no middle ground. So success is the only option. You can't do it half-heartedly. You have to do it successfully. And for us, the KPIs, you've got to treat it like second nature. You've got to be able to be confident in what you're delivering, and you've also got to take it as a non-negotiable. I don't want to be having any conversations about KPIs or whether we're getting close to any KPIs in any way. So from a healthcare perspective, we do review it. We review it in terms of, is our scheduling correct? Are we actually covering those areas? Is the infection control team on site in the hospital? They'll be doing their checks. Are we actually conforming to the standard which they expect? Are we surpassing it, which is the position which we want to be? Yeah. We want to be in a position where we're surpassing it. So there's not even a question. They feel confident when they're coming in to audit us and check us. Yeah. It's also about the understanding of the staff, which is a huge component of the JCI, is that the staff understanding the necessary protocols, the necessary codes. We have a responsibility to support the staff in understanding the importance of it, the whys. And the why is the real important part of it, is that if people understand the why, it allows them to have buy-in. Yeah. So if they understand why they're using a certain agent or cleaner or going through a certain method, You give them that information, they understand the importance of the work that they actually do.
Yeah.
So these are key components for us to having a successful JCI. The KPIs can vary depending on what each individual center wants to have or hospital wants to have and how they focus upon it. But for us, everything is of the utmost importance in healthcare, and it is for every organization which undertakes the work which we do.
Yeah.
It's ensuring, as I said before, the safety of everybody within that facility.
But do you then think that there is more emphasis on the patient safety side, the compliance with code and certification versus sustainability being a little bit more on the back burner in a healthcare environment, I guess? Or is that still a factor when you're, for example, selecting certain cleaners that you may be using on a day-to-day basis, or the amount of water consumption that is there during the cleaning process? Are these factors that are being factored in or no?
For us, it's a huge factor.
Yeah.
Currently going on the ADX, we have to have somebody in the business who's an ESG officer now, which is going to help drive the business forward, which is exceptionally exciting for us because you're not working in a silo position where you're trying to find innovation. You've got somebody who's understanding the core fundamentals and the impact that has on the business. Yeah. For us, we enjoy collaboration. When sustainability is a key impact on and a key figure for a hospital or a health center, it's something which we get quite excited about because it allows us to be a little bit braver, a little bit more innovative. It allows us to really bring the science and the validation to the party as such. Yeah. We do find that there's occasionally some pushback because ultimately you're changing the chemistry in what you're utilizing, and they rightfully need the validation of what we're actually doing. They need to feel secure. So when we change things and when you're looking at things, you need that data to support what you're professing. And you also need that data based upon the outcome of it and how safe is it, and is it clearing X amount of microorganisms or pathogens. But you also need to be demonstrating that it's making a difference. So what is the chemical drainage? What is the reduction in water? What is the reduction in chemical packaging in terms of the plastic waste? How are we reducing that plastic waste? And how can we understand and be able to validate where we are and be able to forecast where we can go if we were to adopt such practices across the year? Yeah. For me, if we can make in different elements a 1% difference, or be able to make a 1% change to whether it's the cleanliness of the building or whether it's sustainability, it's a big difference because I look across 1% all of our facilities. That's a big numbers. It starts to add up. So if we look to be 1% better, and then look to think about how can we do another 1%, it's really important. Yeah. We can look at saying we can make a 10, 15% savings, and they'd be great in an ideal world. But it's exceptionally difficult, and you've got to have that commitment and that buy-in. And it's also a place where you can't necessarily take that sizable of a risk without the data to support where you're going. For me, when you bring together the EVS and you bring it together the sustainability, it is something which we have a responsibility to engineer a matching of. Yeah. They should be working hand in hand, and we have a responsibility as a service provider to be bringing those solutions and supporting how we implement that in our facilities over the next X amount of years moving forward.
Yeah. No, and I fully agree. I mean, there is, I guess, also when you're running a healthcare organization, your primary focus is in any case the patient. It is literally the healthcare services that you provide.
Yes.
So you're leaning very much on a partner like yourselves to come with innovation to create the environment or maintain the environment in which that can happen in the safest way possible at the end of the day. When I look at a healthcare system, then there are obviously different components to it, and it all works in unison. It can go as far as understanding the drainage system and the impact it has on how the building is healthy. The airflows, HVAC, obviously, very important component as well. How do you see in your part of that entire cleaning process how AI and robotics will actually start playing a role in further innovating?
AI and robotics, it's
a big subject.
Definitely something that causes a lot of questions and a lot of doubts. Let's start with the automation. The automation and AI, and they can be two separate things, but when you bring them together, it's a match made in heaven. You look at the automation of things. When you're actually able to do it, studies demonstrate, and it just takes a quick Google search to find them, that automated cleaning has a higher success rate than human cleaning. Mm-hmm. If you were to take a cleaner manually maintaining the floor down a corridor in a hospital, and you swab test it, ATP test it, and then you do similar with an autonomous machine, the autonomous machine is going to be a higher. Mm-hmm. As long as it is maintained correctly and operated correctly, it will be a higher percentage because you're removing that potential of human error in any way, or the human error which is in methodology. So it's something which we need to be encouraging. Obviously, automation is quite expensive in the region still. So we're all striving to try and find that perfect cost analysis, which is going to allow us to start implementing it. That doesn't take away the need for the people. Yeah. It doesn't take away the need for my colleagues. It just means that their roles may change. It may change into more of a cobotic state where they are upskilled to be able to support the robot or the autonomous cleaning equipment which we're utilizing. Well, they'll pick up other activities. They'll be able to pick up the touch points, which is key because touch points, again, as we spoke about before, touch points are something which is scheduled, need more regularly. They are something which is far more dangerous than the actual floor itself. Yeah. So you can use the autonomous solution, the robot, to cover large surface areas under a lot more effective method than it would be somebody using a microfiber cloth or a microfiber mop, which have been revolutionary and not taken away anything from microfiber cloths from what we're using. Mops before microfiber systems are tremendous, and I would encourage everybody, they've got to be a staple of your healthcare regime and your housekeeping regime. Though if you integrate a cobotic state, you're improving your efficiencies, you're improving your actual end result as well. And if you were to ATP test it after, it would demonstrate that as well. When you start looking at the AI can be looked at in so many ways. You look at it, whether it's your dynamic scheduling, if you look at it from the actual routes and the identification of where it needs to be done, it is exceptionally important. The dynamic scheduling is what gets me most excited, because what you're not looking at isn't just when somebody arrives at work and leaves work or goes into an area or leaves an area. You're able to detail what's happening in between. You're able to detail what activities, what are we able to review, what information, what is compliant with the scope of work, is there some scope creep, is there some scope loss. We fully understand exactly what's happening in that area. Yeah. And that AI with the autonomous robots allows us to pick up any gaps which we've had, be able to identify it, be able to fulfill it. It's when we talk about validation and the verification of the data, you can only do it in the place that you swab. If you can do it with AI where you know that you've got that coverage and it identifies and gives you that comfort of coverage, that's the golden ticket. If you're walking away knowing every single area which you have done has been covered, it's been maintained, it's been treated, you're in a winning situation, because what you're creating is a place where you have confidence in that system, you have confidence in your ATP system, you have autonomy and AI merging, which is creating really a dream position. As we said, the major challenge is getting past this cost analysis, which allows us to get to this place in comparison to other areas of the world, whether it's APAC, Europe, North America. We live in a different economy, which it's a people power and it's a people focused service. Yeah. Though if we can get moved to that, we need to just not just look at the cost of things, but look at the impact and the effectiveness of it and what will be the long-term impact utilizing a system which integrates AI and autonomous hand in hand.
I guess it's also one of the biggest challenges that we have in the region. It is a blessing, by the way, but at the same time also a challenge. I mean, we get a lot of labor from all parts of the world, ranging from the Philippines to India, Pakistan, wherever it is. Everybody is coming in with their own cultural backgrounds and what good looks like at the end of the day. I think that new technologies can also help in upskilling workforce. And like you said, I mean, one of the big things, it is a people-driven business. So to educate them on how to do certain things and the importance and make them understand why certain things are done the way they are, that must be a challenge, I guess.
Exceptionally big challenge. I'm very, very fortunate to have a gentleman by the name of Siva Kumar who has pretty much merged everything together to allow our staff to have a sole understanding of what good looks like. And it's when people arrive, when people are working in this facility, it's about how do you change that perception of what good looks like to one singular focus of the expectations and the standards. It's also about maintaining that as well, because as much as you educate, it drifts off and it starts to fade away. It's about maintaining that and keeping that in place. Though this is, again, something where AI and automation comes into place. AI and automation will only ever know one standard of what good looks like, and it will never drop off.
Correct.
As long as you maintain your equipment and you invest time in that equipment, it will never drop off. With our colleagues and on the ground, you've also got to take into account, and this is a key point, is that people work long hours, 8, 9, 10 hours. Your first 3-4 hours are shown as the most productive hours. And then there is a drop-off in terms of focus, in terms of, I won't say commitment because I think the commitment's there, but energy levels and detail, I would say, is that it has a slow drop-off. And there are studies based around it, which are fascinating, but what AI and autonomy doesn't drop off.
No.
It's still that one main standard consistent across. Yeah. So I think part of the process of what we're talking about is that, and again, talking about a cobotic solution, is that how do we support, the autonomy staying at that level? How does that support our colleagues not having such a depreciation in their standards? How do we keep it more a level standard for them?
Or even target them further, because the interesting bit about technology is that it can give you feedback about its own performance at the end of the day. I was able to disinfect this, but yes, I was not able to disinfect that. And now I have a targeted area that a human can go to and say, okay, I'm touching it up or cleaning a floor,
which
whatever
is fabulous
it is.
In terms of, again, the dynamic scheduling, utilizing with the AI. If it can see those gaps in the scope of work and what you're compliant or non-compliant against, it's details which nobody's ever going to see. It's not the same as seeing dust on a shelf or a cobweb in the corner. No one's ever going to see it on a walk around or going through. So it's really important that we start embracing and really start investigating where we can go with these technologies.
And when you look at the UAE or the Middle East in general, I guess also very applicable to Saudi, there's a lot of emphasis on building up further and further the healthcare system, the capabilities, but also the availability of healthcare through the various organizations. What do you see in, say, the upcoming couple of years being the biggest challenge in that scaling of the capabilities? And I'm not talking from a medical perspective. I'm more talking from a facilities management perspective, and then sustainability, patient safety, that natural tension that is there, etc.
For me, I think over the next couple of years, it's going to be the increase in footfall, and that's not due to any pandemic. It's going to be, we know how quickly the UAE is growing, and ultimately the capacity for the people and the medical requirements, it's going to ensure that we are moving exceptionally quickly in creating new hospitals, new medical centres. The footfall is something which is exceptionally important, and as a industry, we need to be able to be prepared for any shortfall in creating these new centres and creating these new facilities, that these environments and these premises are going to have a lot more footfall, a lot more activity. So how do we adapt? How do we ensure that we maintain our standard? Again, something which we've just spoken about, AI dynamic scheduling.
Yeah.
It comes into play of it. How do we operate in the quieter times and utilizing that AI technology again? We talk about simple things, smart meters for the footfall and in certain areas, the traffic flow in certain areas. How do we utilize that to schedule correctly, especially as the requirements for these is going to increase significantly?
Yeah.
I think, what was it? There's going to be around about 30,000 new people in the UAE within the first 3 months of this year. That's
significant.
A lot. It's a significant number. And we have a responsibility to be prepared for it and support our clients and our hospitals and our health centres to be prepared for it.
Yeah. And do you see a benefit within your own organization that you obviously cater literally to different types of clients? How do you cross-pollinate learnings across these different sort of verticals that you work in? Because hospitality is an animal on its own. It has its own goals, obviously, in terms of housekeeping, etc., versus a healthcare environment. Are there certain learnings that you can see cross over?
I'm very, very fortunate that we do healthcare, we do education, we do business and industry, we do industrial, we do all different types of housekeeping. So it allows us to take the case studies which we're utilizing in other verticals as such, and be able to look at what's the scoring, what's the metrics which can actually convert into other aspects, into other areas. How can we identify what AI and automation will be active? It also allows us to start integrating some of those ideas and those techs and innovations into lower risk verticals, and actually starting to trial. So we can scale our proof of concepts out of lower risk sites and understand it if it's ready to go into the next vertical or a higher risk vertical, which has been very, very helpful because it allows us to start small and start generating and be able to give validated information which will give the next vertical confidence when we do proof of concept. So it's one thing which we do find, starting at lower risk to go into higher risk. It allows us to look at innovations without being too risky and being able to mitigate that risk with what we're doing. It also allows us to use just best practice across these different across these different verticals. If something's working or a methodology is working, is it something we can adopt and adapt and utilize elsewhere? It also allows our staff to be multi-skilled and understand their facilities, because we talk about facilities, we talk about a healthcare facility. It's not always going to be at a clinical standard. You have back of house, you have car parks, you have all of these different things which are not always needed to be maintained at the same standard, or haven't got to have the same focus. But that car park can be maintained the same as an office building. So we can integrate best practice over there into here, and we can do it a more cost efficient way because we're not aiming for the stars. We can quite happily aim at the moon. Nice, clean, tidy facility. I feel confident entering this building because I've parked my car up in a clean space. I can understand exactly, I've got directions of where I'm going. Everything feels clean. And then when they step into it, you get a different experience when you move into your healthcare facility, because it's like, okay, this is pristine. From a customer usage, you don't understand what's behind the aesthetics, but the aesthetics are important. And the aesthetics outside in the car park, in the external spaces, they are equally important. It's the presentation of it. You talk about the landscaping. That's going to have an impact on a healthcare facility and people's confidence. If you are looking at, it sounds crazy, but if you look at the laundry service in a hospital, if the laundry service is providing creased scrubs or different things like, it's not going to fill the staff with confidence that everything is running pristinely. Especially when you're integrating housekeeping with the cleaning, with the laundry, you need it all to be at that standard where it's at the top, to give people confidence, and that confidence excretes from people. People will feel it. If you've got nurses, doctors, people working in the hospital who feel comfortable, confident in the environment they have, it fulfills you as well as a potential patient or a parent of a patient or a loved one is there. It gives you that confidence when you see that presentation of people.
And I think that's very right. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that typically for any business, there is a whole lot of things you don't see happening back of house. But whatever is happening back of house needs to reflect basically what you want to be front of house and how you want to be seen. It is an extremely important thing. When you look at, say, the past year, what kind of practical solutions have you seen that actually said, like, yeah, now we're moving forward in really trying to marry up that sustainability and well, in the case of healthcare, patient safety aspect. Are you looking for practical solutions that help bolster basically existing processes, or even innovate them a little bit further, make them more efficient, more effective, or is it more the promise of typically more complicated technological solutions?
I'll start with the latter. The complicated technological solutions are very much a journey, and it's something which we need people to be able to buy into and believe and work with us. And it's that key word is collaboration again, is because I'm confident it works in other areas of the world. I'm very confident. I've seen it work. I've seen the validated information. Though, and we had a conversation earlier, is that there are different factors here. You're working in a different climate. You're working in a completely different environment where there's external factors which can differ the results of certain practice and methodologies to here from in comparison to other areas of the world. Okay. It's about going on that journey and allowing us to invest that time and be able to demonstrate what we can do with the technology, with the innovation. And we've got to see it from other aspects rather than it just being financial, but it's the end outcome. Is everything cleaner? Have we reduced the possibility of human error? Is it more sustainable? Is there a benefit for it? Are we reducing the water usage? Just a simple one. Are we reducing the water usage? Are we reducing the amount of packaging which is being utilized for it? We've got a responsibility as your supplier to be able to provide that data, because ultimately, if we don't give you that data, you can't make that decision. You cannot see the value in it. And that is our responsibility. Though what I do ask is that when we do these collaborations, let us do this in full. Let us look at every other aspect of it. And when you get it, read it, absorb it. And if you see the benefits in it, let's scale it. Yeah. Let's really scale it. On the short term, it's practical. And the simplest one which we always look at is integrating microfiber systems. The integration of microfiber systems has reduced water consumption by 15-20% on average globally. It has also reduced chemical output as well, which is fabulous. It is a system which is so simple and adopted under the correct methodology by our colleagues can provide a tremendous service and a tremendous finish. But what do we do to get an extra 5% on top of that? Yeah. Is it something which is a the word forgets me now, but it's integrating the chemical and the water into the pole of the microfiber, and you're actually dosing it through there. Does that make a difference? Just these little bits of differences which will save time, will save energy, will save water. It will also help it be regulated. It's finding those little practical solutions which help. Again, scheduling. Scheduling is something which is huge for the environment. If you can get your dynamic scheduling correct, you will be saving, rather than duplicating processes and cleaning what's clean and wasting water and wasting chemical, you can say, don't need to do that because I know I've got to do that. That's my identification of that section. So again, it's the importance of understanding and adopting the AI and actually investing time in conversations with suppliers to understand what they've got and how it will benefit you. Because suppliers will work with you. They want the product to work as well. As us as a service provider, we work with yourselves, and it's almost a process of we go to supply, it comes to us, it goes to the end client. Yeah. Everyone is happy to collaborate. It's just having that open mind to do so. Yeah.
What has been your biggest joy in the UAE? Because you obviously, just like me, not from here. We've seen different parts of the world, but the UAE has some, in my opinion, big strengths. What was sort of your biggest joy that you've seen in the industry that you're part of?
People. For me, it's very, very easy. People, whether it's Nepalese, Indian, Ghanaian, the diversity. I learn something every day from the diversity of the staff. And it sounds a little bit derogatory to where I've been before, but their commitment is so much higher than where I've seen elsewhere. Their commitment to deliver is so, so much higher. And I respect the place that they come from. And I have to say this because this is a really important factor, is that when we talk about the people in healthcare, they are the first line of defense for the patients, because they are contributing to that patient outcome. What they do and what they deliver has a direct input on the patient's output and when they leave and how they leave. And they embrace it. And it's explained to them that they are important. They're an important cog in the wheel, which makes this system work.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the time, the hours. I appreciate the conversations I have about what they see in the workplace. I appreciate the stories about how they got here and what they're doing. I mainly appreciate, though, they turn up every day and they take that exceptionally important, that they are potentially adding or taking away, and I'm going to say adding again because that's the important part, is to somebody's outcome in their time in the hospital, or the patient's time in the hospital, or a doctor or a nurse's time in the hospital. Are we making their life easier? Are we making their job easier? Because you know what? All these pathogens have been kept away from this patient.
Yeah. And I think from my own experience here in the country, I think that the UAE has a phenomenally good, how do you say that, chance to leapfrog. They can take best practices from the world, implement them in a environment system that they're building up and growing, which I think is very, very powerful. And you see that I full-heartedly agree with you. People are super committed to the jobs that they do, and very much also wanting to learn at the same time, which I think is super crucial. What does it mean for you to have a green mind?
For me to have a green mind, it's about the integration of EVS and sustainability, so they can be one. Because they do go hand in hand. They support each other, and they are going to shape the future. Our services, along with sustainability and integrating the two, will most certainly shape our future, shape the future of our services, our facilities, and we have the opportunity, as you said, as a country, to be a world leader on it. And it's not too far away. As long as everybody buys in and collaborates, it's not too far away at all.
Yeah. Thank you, Jake, for a fantastic conversation.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.